Hello, in this video I'll be showing you how to use ACL access control list in Packet Tracer. Access control list is a layer of security we can add to our network. It filters traffic through our routers. You can allow or deny certain traffic, and you access a firewall. So to do that, we're going to set up two networks with the PC, switch, and routers, and along with it, email, web, and FTP server. We're going to try them out with ACL standard and ACL extended. I'll go ahead and go over it a little bit more of what it is later on. So first of all, let's set up our networks. To start with, we're going to need a router. So you go here in the bottom corner, have devices, you go to network devices, and here you have a list of routers. So I'll go ahead and grab two. You just click on them and put them on your screen. Those are two routers which will have each one its own switch. These are the two networks, and there's two networks, and the connection between them will create, it's actually a third network. So another network device we'll be using is the switch. I select the switch and put them as well. Then we'll need some PCs, so those are end devices. I'll go to end devices and PC. I'll go ahead and put two for each switch. Then we need to connect them. Connections are also here in the corner, and you can see here it says connections. You can choose it, and we're going to connect them through Ethernet ports. So for that, we're going to use this one, copper straight through. Click on the PC, you choose the Ethernet port, which is only 1, 0, and then on the switch, I'm going to choose 2. Usually the first port is used for the router, so I'll go ahead and not choose that one, I'll choose 2. Same thing we do with the other ones. So the only network port, and 3. So that connects our PCs to the switch. I'll go ahead and do the same for the other network, and again I'll choose 2 to connect 1 to the router, and 3. That connects our PCs to the switch, but we still need to connect them to the router. So again, Ethernet, and that's where I choose 1, and here I'll choose 1. Here you only have 2. I'll use the port 0 to connect with the other router. Same thing with the switch. I'll choose the first one to go to the number 1. Now we need to connect in between these two routers to connect our two networks. These are two networks, two LANs, local area networks. So to interconnect them, we use what's called copper crossover. Connect to Ethernet 0 to port Ethernet 0. That we finish the connections, but we need to set up the IP addresses to identify our PCs and networks. So I'll start with the PCs. You click on it once only. Go to desktop, IP configuration, and here you can put the IP address. So for this one, I just put 68, 1, and then 0.100. So that's the first one, and it has a mask address. So I'll go ahead and copy this address, and to make it easier on Packet Tracer, I'm going to rename this to that. That way I know the address of it as I'm working along with other PCs. Same thing over here, desktop, IP configuration, and I'll just add up a 1, enter, and then it should automatically give you a subnet mask. Again, I'll copy it so I can easily identify the PC address. Since this is on another LAN, another local area network, instead of putting to 1, I'll put it to 2. You'll see here 2, and again 100. Entering this gives you a subnet mask. Same thing with the next one. I'll put just 101 instead of 100, and then subnet mask. I'll rename them to, this is 101, this is 100. So I have the IP addresses of the computers, but to get to them I need to configure the IP addresses of the routers. So here you need 2 IP addresses. The one going to the computers is the 01, because that's the one we connected to the switch. So this one we set it up as 1 as the default IP address. This one, so this one will take care of all these addresses here. And make this bigger, and then you have to turn this on. And 0, this will be the IP addresses between the 2 routers. So I'll create a new one, so I'll put 3, 2. I'll subnet mask and I'll turn it on. So that's for router 2. Same thing, I'll go over here. And 0 is the one we're connecting with the other router, so that's 3.3. 1 is the one we're connecting with the PCs down below it, so it's 2. So instead of 100, I'll put 1. And that should let our router connect with the computers below. So for example, this one is already settled. So you can see there's a connection already between the switch and the PCs. So if you leave your mouse over the router, you can see the IP addresses and information. So you can see that point 1 is going on the port 0/1. That one's going down. And the 3.2 0/0, that one's the one going to the other router. And this one should have 2.1 going down and 3.3. Let me see. So you can see here I've actually forgot to turn them on, so you gotta make sure they're on. If not, it's not gonna give you connection. So I turn them on, so now it's starting to set up. At least we got connection for now between routers, so now it's working on the PCs below it. To know if they're communicating between each other, we can use ping, which is sending a packet, ICMP packet. So for that, let me go over it. When you open PC, you can go to run, which is command prompt. You put ping, and you put the IP address of the other computer. So I'll put the one besides it, which is 101. Here you can see that I'm on the 101, so I'm pinging to the 101. And we're getting replies, so the message are being received. There's connection between these two. But we want to test it to the other network over here. So I'll test it with the 0.2 101. So we're trying to communicate between 2 routers, and it's not getting to the other side of the network. It's not getting from this one to the one over here. Timing out, so it's not reaching the IP address. So I'll go ahead and go over it right now, how to make these 2 routers communicate. So this one already has its address here. So we're gonna include this one as default gateway for our computers. So so anything that comes through here could come over here. So the same thing with this one. Because this is someone manages all these IP addresses, and same thing over here, but this one was with the 2. And this one too. .21. Let me just make sure I have the same thing over here. Yes. So now to get communication between the routers, you can go to routing information protocol here, and you can add the IP addresses. So we're dealing with 0.1, 0.1. Instead of 0.1, you put 0 because that's the general address for all of these ones. And then the same thing with 0.2. And since we have another network between the routers, I'm gonna go ahead and include that one. 0. That does for this router. And this one too. Can add the IP addresses. 0. This is for the second one. And then for the third network, 30. So the 1.1/24, which is a fast Ethernet 0/1, is going to the computers down here, and then the 192.168.3.2/24 is going to this, between these two routers. That's another LAN. And then over here we can find the third LAN, which is 192.168.2.1. That's the addresses for this computers over here. And that's why we added 3 addresses to the RIP routing protocol. So here you can we can try again to contact the other router. So right now we're on 192.168.1.100, which is this one, and we're trying to contact the computer over here from another LAN. So go ahead and ping. So we lost one, but at least we're having contact. So we got replies from a computer from the other LAN. So this, we're gonna work ahead from here to start implementing our access control list. But for now, we have settled our computers, switch, and routers with the IP addresses. So we'll go ahead and move with the access control list with the standard one. Now that we have our network set up, we're gonna start with ACL standard. Standard means we can only deny an IP address, the source IP address. What is the source? So for example, if you send in a message from this computer to a network over here, the source would be obviously this computer, and the destination the one over here. So we can only block what is the one that is sending us the message. ACL is applied closest to the destination. So what does that mean? That we're gonna do it on this router because it's closest to the PC we're trying to contact. Unextended, you apply it closest to the source, so that would be this router, but right now we're doing standard. Also unextended, you can block source and destination IP address and also deny according to port numbers, but I'll go ahead and cover more extended after this standard example. Now in standard, we can choose a number between 1 to 99 as a access list. So I'll go ahead and show that right now when we configure it. So let's start with the router. So now we said that we're gonna go to the closest to destination router, so that's this one. We have two ports, however, two interfaces, which is the one connecting to the switch and the one connecting from the other router. Which one should we choose is according to which one are we using. So we're using standard. Standard uses the one closest, so we choose this port. And there are two types that we can choose. There's one called incoming, so this is this port because it's incoming, coming into the router, and there's outbound. This inbound is incoming and outbound is coming out. So we choose outbound because it's closest to the destination, and we'll set up that right now in the router. So I'll go ahead and exit from here. So when you open the router, you go to CLI, and here we can tap the commands to configure to create an access list. So you first enable it. You want to change the name of your router, you can just type in host name and then the name you want to give it. So here I forgot. So first you enter into configuration mode, so it's configuration and terminal. Enter. Now I can actually change the name, R1. So now let's create the access list. To create that, you can type in ACC and then you press tab and you give it a number. Now what we can do with that, so if you put question mark, it gives you the options: deny, permit, remark. So we want to deny, we want to try it out. An example: denying a computer from this network to go to the network over here. So I'll go ahead and choose the one with 100. So to do that, you type in deny and then I'll put host because we're only blocking one computer, and then I'll go ahead and put the address of it, 0.68.2.100, and that should deny the computer. Now if we deny this, now we need to let it know what else, what do we permit to come in. So for that one, we're gonna use permit, and we're gonna put any. So anything that is not this IP address that we just mentioned should let it in through the traffic. So any. And now we're gonna exit. To exit this, you type click Control C. Now we put show run, so show our running configuration, and enter. Press space, and since we configured port 01 because that's the one going to the outbound and it's closest to our destination, here we can see that we have denied this IP address and we're permitting anything else. Now this is important because if you don't permit, it's gonna automatically deny everything else, because it's gonna deny everything else if you don't tell it. So in case you don't put the permit any, it's actually gonna not let anything else go in. So for example, here we have this computer we're trying to block, but if you don't put any, this computer will also be blocked. So make sure you put permit any in case you want any other computer to come in through the network. Now that does it to add it to the list, but now we have to apply it to the interface, which is interface 01. To do that, we enter again configure terminal, and to enter our interface, we put interface and the name, the one we were dealing with, F80/1. We enter in, and now we're gonna go ahead and add it to the interface. So it's IP and again ACC, and then you press tab, and we're gonna go ahead and put 1, and this is outbound, so I'll go ahead and put out. And now that should be added to the interface. So again, we exit, Control C, show running configuration, and there we have the permit, and here it is to our interface. So we specified that it should be outbound. Go ahead and exit, and now let's try it out. So if you want to check which one, it's a one block enabled, configure terminal, show run. It's actually Control C, exit, and then configure, show running configuration. Press space, you can go down, denying the 0.2.100. So I'll go ahead and try communicating with the PC over here with 100. So it right away tells us unreachable because over here the router is not letting us reach this point. That's with this one, but now let's try the second PC. This one we didn't add it to the list, so I'm gonna try reaching the same PC, and as you can see, it's letting us reach it. Now we have to, this is the first scenario where you're just blocking one. Now let's block both PCs. This is second scenario, so now let's open it and enable it and show run. So I want to specify how does it work here. So here we have the list, access list. This access list works in order. It reads the line, first line, and then it goes to the second line and it continues. So if you want to add a second PC, you cannot just do the same thing, add another access list, deny host, and put an IP address, because that one will be right here at the bottom. Since it goes in order, it's going to deny this PC, but then it's going to read the line permit any. So it's going to let everything flow, all the traffic come in, and it's never going to actually reach the second PC you're trying to block. So you cannot just add another PC the way we did it. To add another PC, we need to actually clear this access list and create a new one. So this outbound. So how do we get rid of this one? So you again enter configure terminal, and you do the same except you put no ACC, so no access list one. So that we should remove it. And now let's see if it's removed. Control C, show running configuration, and there's no access list here. So now let's remove the interface configuration that we had put. So configure terminal, interface FA/1. Again, no ACC, tab, IP, ACC tab, because this is for the IP, and then 1 and outbound. So this one should have gotten rid of it too. So running configuration, press space to go down, and there's nothing here. So now we have cleared the access list and the outbound. So now we can actually add the second PC. Again, doing the same thing, configure terminal, and we're gonna add again the access list. So we can put ACC, just put a 2. Remember, you can choose a number between 1 to 99. And that's what standard, that's how known as standard ACL. We're gonna add the host, and let me say the IP addresses: 182.68, 1.2.100. So actually I forgot to type in deny because we don't want to allow them. So now let's add 101. Now if you would want to deny the whole network, instead of adding, say you have 50 computers and you just don't want any of them, you cannot do this individually, it would be too much. So in that case you could actually write the network address 1.68.2.0, and then you put here. So this, we're targeting the whole network, and this should deny the access of all the computers in case you don't want to add individually each one. So I'll go ahead and get rid of this because I want to just show you how you can add individually one. Maybe you just want to block 3 out of 50. So you just add the new address, deny host. So it's over here, deny host. There we go. So we have denied it both. So remember that you need to put permit any other than that, because if not, it's gonna block everything. So I'll go ahead and put ACC tab, and now permit any. I forgot to put the 2. That's the one we're dealing with. And now we can exit. Now let's enter the interface 0/1. So we can set up to 1. So now we're in the interface and we put IP ACC, and now we're gonna go ahead and put 2 because we're dealing with the second one, and we're gonna set up to outbound. So now to show configuration, so we're going configuration, enter. We have 2 block. So you see now in this case it's gonna read don't let access to 0.100 and don't let access to 0.101, and then it's gonna let everything else go in. Versus if we had this on the bottom, it would have not let 100, let anything else, and at the end it's gonna read deny host 101. But by that time anything on that already crossed actually to our network. So make sure you have it in order so you don't miss what you're trying to actually block. And here we have the outbound. So now let's try it by throwing a ping. So now, so we had already tried this one, it's not letting it cross. Now let's try this one. Again, not letting it cross. So this is the second scenario which you want to actually individually add another IP address that you don't want to reach your network. Remember, this is just standard, so that means you can only block source IP addresses, which in our case was here. And to do that, remember standard is outbound, so you need to, it's closest to a destination, so you need to configure it to closest to where the computer you want to reach is, which example was this router, and it was outbound, which was this port. As you can see, this is very limited because it's only the source that you can block. So I'll go ahead and review now the extended, which is more flexible. It's you can block or allow source and destination IP address, or you can also allow or deny port. So that one is close to the source, so I'll go ahead and cover that now. So now let's cover the extended ACL. In extended, as different from standard, is that the number had to be between 100 and 199. You remember on standard it was 1 to 99, and on standard it was closest to the destination, which we were working on, this one being the destination and over here being the source. So now in extended we configure it closer to the source. So in this case we're gonna be sending messages from this network to the one over here. So the source, it's here, and the closest would be this router. Between outbound and inbound, this one should be the one being configured. The inbound is coming in through here. So now that we, as a first try introduction, we can just work with this router. Now you can modify, you can allow or deny IP addresses, both source and destination, opposed to just source and the standard. But to give it a better, more than IP addresses, I'm gonna go ahead and try port numbers, since it's something that standard cannot do. To do that, first I'll set up a server, and you look for end devices, and you choose a server. I'll place it on this one. So here it is. Now since our destination is over here, I'll go ahead and place it over here, and I'll assign it an IP address. So instead of 101, I'll put 54. This is just the name, but I'll go ahead and put it right now on the configuration as well. So there it is. And desktop IP configuration here, and default gateway is 1. So there we go. We have assigned the IP address, and we connect it to the switch. Now on the servers, there's different type of servers. So for this example, I'll put HTTP web server, and it's already on and on. So this is the web server that we're gonna try right now with the port number. So since we say it's inbound, it has to be closer to the source, which will be this. I'll go ahead and try it from over this network. I have to work with this one. So exit. So if you were to open it, CLI and then enable, then configure terminal. Same thing, access, tab, 100. Remember the number had to be between 100 and 199, and I'll put deny. Now I'll just set this example to show you how it's done with IP, but we're gonna actually try the port number. But for IP, you would put, well, here I could put IP, but if you put question mark, it gives you more options, not just IP. You can do ICMP, IP, TCP, UDP, the ports, which we're gonna do right now with this web server, TCP. But if you were to put an IP address, you would put IP, and then you would put the host, the source IP, and the destination IP. So you would actually have to put both, not like we did previously in standard, where you just put one. And also with permits, you would have to put instead of permit any, you have to put permit any, which is any source or any destination. But here, to show how it works with port numbers, I'll go ahead and add the first the IP address, which is the source, which is the one on over here, this network. And since I'm gonna do the network web server TCP, I'm gonna do it on a website which is HTTP port 80. So that will be TCP. I'll put the source IP address 0.20. So we're gonna allow this to come through this computer, but since we put 0, it's actually the whole network. And to allow it all, we need to put this for the whole network. Now we add the destination, which is host 192. This is the IP address of the server. So 168 1.1 254, and then put question mark. It gives you options. Oh, am I missing anything? This permit. Well, I put it backwards. It's first permit, and then you put what kind of access you want to give it. Permit. Oh, you try running it again. So I'll go ahead and rewrite it. 100 permit. TCP is what we're interested in. And then the source IP address, which will be the whole LAN. And the destination, which is the server IP address. And so now we have to give it a port number. Let me see what's going on here. So it's access list 100 permit TCP. I think there's a space. Let me put it bigger so I can see clearly. Am I missing any number? Yes, I am. So here it is. Sometimes you need to make the screen bigger because it's all two together. So here I'm missing a 1. You can see the little symbol here. It's telling you where the error is. So now let me. So that's for the. We're gonna allow a TCP port 80. What I want to show you here is in this one you put question mark. It gives you question mark. It gives you the options for the port numbers. And I went ahead and put equal. So any port number equal to 80 will be allowed. Have greater than or less than, lower than, that's what it is. Now if I don't put anything, I don't know, I mentioned previously that if you don't put anything at the end of the configuration, there's gonna be an invisible deny any. So if I put this, it's automatically gonna deny anything from these two PCs. So allow from this one, but from this server it's only gonna allow port 80, not the IP address itself. So I'll show you that right now. But first we have to add the configuration to the interface, which was 01. We enter, and then we're gonna configure the group, so it's inbound. That's so I'm actually forgetting the 100, because this we were dealing with the 100, so we're gonna put it inbound. Remember, we are dealing with this router and unextended. We do it closest to the source, and our source is over here, so this is the closest inbound. And we add it. Control C, show running configuration. Here it is. We're gonna allow to this whole network. We're gonna allow access over here to the ports 80, which as you can see is www, the web server, and here's inbound. So I'll go ahead and try it. So we go to the web browser, and here we put the IP address of the web server. Let's see if I actually set it up over here. And the IP address. Go ahead and try it again on the web server. I'll go, and here it is. So it's letting us go to the website in the web server over here, because this port's 80. If we actually go, we can close this and we go and we ping. So first let's try a computer from the network over here. So it's not gonna let us reach since we didn't add it to the permit, and at the end of the rules, at the end it says deny all, and it's denying everything else that is not on this server and the port 80. And I'm emphasizing this on port 80 because if we try reaching it from here, it doesn't let us go because it's not port 80 specifically. It can only allow port 80 access. So this is just a simple example of extended with port numbers. You can as well ask IP source IP and destination IP address, but I thought it would be interesting to see the port number. If you want to add it in computer, we will cover that in the standard. So this is how you can permit, if you want, you can block the port 80 and that will not allow any access. So that's an example of how to use extended ACL with a port number. I'll go ahead and cover another example using extended ACL. As a final example, I'll go ahead and cover now IP addresses, source and destination, to block them with extended ACL. I'll go ahead and do that, and at the end I'll show you how to set up that email and FTP server in case you want to try out more of blocking contents from one network to another. So I'll go ahead and start with the IP address. So we had already previously worked with port numbers, and let's see if they come out here. So here it is, port number. Now we're gonna clear that So how do you get rid of the access list? You enter configuration mode and you just type in no ACC tab 100, and that should get rid of that access list. Now we can leave the interface, and we're gonna use the same one to block IP addresses from going in here to going out. But now let's set up the access list where we block an IP address. We've done port number, so now extended list can also do source to destination IP address. So let's go ahead and create one access list, and I'll put deny. Well, first we have to address which one, which is 100. Deny, put question mark. Remember, we can block specific packets, so I'll go ahead and we already did TCP, the port number. So now let's do the IP address. IP, and we can choose, for example, a host 192.168. This is the source IP address, and now we can add the other network, which is one. This is the destination, so this is 168.1.0. This is everything over here, and since this is everything, we put 255. That should let us add it to the access list. We would have not had the inbound before that we had previously configured. We would have entered interface 01, and then we would have added IP access and then make it 100 in. But we have done that, so we don't need to do it again. So now we can Control C, exit, show running configuration, and we should have it there. So this is the source over here, not allowing any over here, and we got rid of the one we previously have with the port 80, so that's why it doesn't appear here. And now let's try it out. And let's ping. So it's not allowing us to reach 100. Difference with this one, the setup, is that you have to actually specify the source and destination. Now I'll go ahead and show you how to set up an email server and an FTP in case you want to play with them whenever you allow in contents to traffic through your servers. So first of all, you end devices, another server. That'll be a web server, and this one will be the FTP. So now we can see over here, it's DHCP static, actually it has to be, so we had it on 0.100, and the default 1.1. okay, so now this will be the web server, and this will be the FTP server. So now we connect them to our switch, just like we did previously with the web server. Well, actually that one, the one I just did here, should be mail servers, email. So on this one we need to give it an IP address. So I'll go ahead and just put 253, default 1.1, and then on services is where on email is where we need to modify it. But before, we need to establish a DHCP, turn it on. Default gateway, that was 1.1. DNS server, just go ahead and put in the second one, and then you add it. We know it exists, I'll just put 1. I'll remove the one, no, that one's already there. So email, domain name, I'll go cisco.com, user cisco1, cisco2.1, password, add it. So here's where you create the email, the users, and add it. So now I have to go to a computer, establish it on computer. So you put the name, the address, the DNS, and the names you had put over there, and you save it. And that'll do it for 1. So now let's go to the next one, which is the second one, this one. And then you just have to do the same thing, configure mail, and again the server, and Cisco. So that's how you set up the email server. Now and here we have to configure on desktop the IP address. So you ask for a DHCP and it gives to you. So this is to make it dynamic, so you can send the emails through your computers. So it was successful, and we configured that, remember, over here on DHCP. Now on the server, FTP, same process. So go to DHCP, turn it on, and you add default gateway, it's already there. This one we'll put it 2. First we need to actually give it an IP address. So again, I'll just put 52. And default gateway is with a 1. So now we can actually add DHCP, and we add it here. Go back and forward. You should have this already established, and default gateway is there, and now DNS would be 2, and the name is already there, so I'll put 1. There we go. So now we just need to put FTP, and you put the username Cisco3 and password Cisco3, and then you add. You need to choose this so you can work with it, and that's it. Same steps, except on FTP you add it here. And that's how you set up an email server and FTP server. Hopefully this long video of extended access list, standard access list, web FTP and email server were helpful, and thank you for watching.